Welcome! So a friend of ours recently had a baby, totally out of the blue, even though we knew she was expecting all along. So we had to come up with a baby warming present real quick. And when I say we, it means me. And when I say real quick, it means over the weekend. We decided to make a nameplate for a newborn baby boy. Or is it for his mother? Anyway, the plate will be based around the air balloon traveler theme. I decided to browse the internet for some inspiration, but a quick Google search showed that what's out there is beaten and boring, and nobody likes boring presents. So after a bit of discussing with my girlfriend, I decided to break out the heavy artillery that I absolutely love, and it's the LEDs, lithium batteries, charging modules and touch-sensitive switches. Oh, and DC-DC voltage converters. The world just wouldn't be the same without them. Now it's time to put my work pants on and head to the shop. I designed this board as a multi-layer sandwich. This way the final product will have some volume to it, and also it is convenient to hide the wiring between the layers. Oh, don't get me started on speed designing all the parts so that they fit perfectly on the first try. These were the best 8 hours of my life. So I've made the basis for this plate by laser cutting the plywood into correct shapes. This elastic rail will act as a wall for... Oh, wait a sec, I'll make a new one. It turns out it was a hasty assumption that I'll manage to make all the parts on the first try. My mistake was that I've placed the cuts too far apart from each other the first time, and there were too few of them. But you know how the saying goes, it's only those who do nothing that make no mistakes. Ah, much better. Now where were we? So this elastic rail will act as a wall for a box where I'm planning to put all the circuitry later. For the segments of the air balloon I've used colored see-through and mirrored acrylic that I decorated with engravings of different animals, stars and circles, sugar and spice and everything nice. By the way, bonus points to you if you recognize this star-shaped hole from another project of mine.
Burn, 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 burn.
Actually, there's a twist to these engravings. Later you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, time to start the assembly. Although this brush doesn't resemble a soldering iron much, I need to do this before I can move to the really exciting part of wiring everything together. A dash of acrylic paint here and there and the plywood plays in a new color. Literally. I mean, in a new color, get it? Because the color has changed. It sounded funnier in my head. Anyway, surprisingly, the painting process was quite satisfactory to my liking. Now it's time to assemble everything together. I'll start off with forming a box on the backside of the plate, which will store all the electronics. I must say that I was quite pleased with myself when this rail turned out to be the exact length to make a perfect circle, if you can call it a circle. Oh, and please, promise to keep this fiasco a secret. So you've probably guessed by now that the segments of the air balloon will be illuminated by the LEDs, so there's no point in holding the suspense. I'll just glue the LEDs in their designated landing places using cyanocrylate glue. This way the light from the LEDs will go through the acrylic, bouncing off of the engraving, making it shine like a burning gasoline on a Christmas tree. Since some of the segments are see-through, I need to come up with something to hide these dark squares on the background. I decided to go with a simple white paper background, after investing some time to make a fancy-looking wrinkled metallic background, which turns out to be really bad-looking and also a potential short-circuit hazard. 2 out of 10, would not recommend. Well, so far so good. Let's proceed to my favorite part of this project, the electronics part. The wiring isn't complicated at all. In fact, it's pretty much trivial, so let me walk you through the process. I'll start with connecting the LEDs together in parallel, adding a current limiting resistor for each LED, since the circuit voltage is going to be 5 volts and we only want to see the light from the LEDs without the smoke. Speaking of voltage, I'll be using 2 rechargeable 3.7 volt lithium batteries as a power source and a TP4056 charging module to charge these batteries. Placing the switch between the batteries and the battery terminal of the charging module, by the way, that's what I'm doing now, might not be the most popular approach. Because it may cause confusion and outbursts of holy wrath in some scenarios when the final user will try to charge the device with the switch in an off position, resulting in nothing because the battery is physically disconnected from the rest of the circuit and won't be charged in a trillion years. No, I'm not that cruel. There's a reason behind my choice, and also I'll leave a reminder on the back cover that will instruct the user to charge the device with the switch in an on position. Oh, and also the charging module has a micro USB socket. In 2024. So yeah, maybe I'm that cruel after all. Okay, so the reason to physically disconnect the battery from the charging module is to extend the shelf life of the device in a power-off state, since these charging modules tend to discharge the batteries on their own without any load connected, so yeah. Although the LEDs and the touch-sensitive switch that I'm planning to use can be powered directly from the batteries, I decided to stabilize the voltage of my circuit using a DC-DC voltage converter, in order to avoid the change in brightness of the LEDs when the battery charge level will decrease. For this I'll be using this MT3608 voltage converter, and you guessed it, I'm going to set its output to 5 volts. Now it's time to connect this TTP223 capacitive touch module. It has several work modes which are set with these jumpers A and B. It comes with an A0B0 set by default, which means that the switch will hold the high level on its output for as long as you're touching it. But what we need is a self-locking high-level output mode, which is A0B1. Otherwise, where's the fun in a sign that only lights up when someone's touching it? Excellent, this works exactly as intended now. In order to protect the touch switch, I'll use it as a trigger for a MOSFET transistor. That in turn will power the LEDs. This is a random N-channel MOSFET that I've desoldered from some old PC's motherboard. Basically any transistor capable of driving 200 mA of current and more will do. Probably the switch alone would be enough for such an insignificant load of 6 LEDs, but I don't know that for sure, cause there isn't any data on the power ratings of this switch that I could find. My motto is, it's better to be safe than sorry, so the MOSFET stays. Also, now I can proudly say that this project is eco-friendly, because the transistor I use as well as the batteries are 100% recycled, no new waste produced. Think green, vote Soulful Crafts. Although I fear that the switch won't be as reliable through a layer of plywood. Just as I've expected. 3mm distance is too much for this switch to reliably detect a touch. But I have a trick up my sleeve to try to make it work. I've found this piece of information that states that this connection pad over here is supposedly for connecting an external touchpad. And I think I can work with that. I'll try enlarging the existing touchpad in hopes that this will affect the sensitivity of this switch as well. So for starters I'll try soldering my calibrated pad enlargement device to it, aka a piece of wire. My guess is that the resulting change of the capacitance might actually make the difference in the sensitivity of this switch. Aha, perfect. This pad enlargement device works even better than I've expected. So with this minor manipulation, I've turned this $50 touch switch into a $50 proximity sensor, which is cool if you ask me. This opens up a door to a ton of possible applications where the only limitation is your imagination, and that's priceless. If you're willing to make a similar project, here's the wiring diagram. Now I'll just throw in some pretty ribbons. Who doesn't like ribbons? Exactly. Glue the top cover on, and we're good to go. Voila! By the way, please consider liking or subscribing. This always powers my batteries to make more projects for you to enjoy. Thanks, take care, and as always, see you next time.